Imagine sitting behind the wheel of a car that drives itself, or living in a house that talks to you about your day, or managing a business with an entire staff of robots. Once the stuff of science fiction, innovation in technology is bringing us closer and closer to that reality. I'm Arnold Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. Innovation, it's a major buzzword in China. As the country faces a changing economy, it looks to innovate its way to the next phase of growth. From startups to new patents, entrepreneurs are using the influx of government support to launch new businesses. So will China be the new Silicon Valley? Joining me now to explore China's tech innovation, Xiaochen Zhang is the founding partner of New Development Ventures, which promotes innovation in China. From Shanghai, William Bao Bean is managing director of Chinaccelerator, the first software incubator in China, and Dan Yi is the entrepreneur and co-founder of CollegeNode, where international students can find American universities. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Let's go to Shanghai and start with William. William, China has made significant, important progress in 2016 in the tech sector, if we look at companies like WeChat, Huawei, but where do you see tech trends going in 2017?
So there's a couple of huge trends happening. The first is FinTech. P2P lending solves a huge problem, which is getting finance and actually cash into the hands of people who need it. Right now, China is 80% of the global P2P lending market. The second area that's really standing out is just mobile. China is one of the largest mobile-first, mobile-only markets in the world, and the innovation you're seeing in consumer apps and entertainment and live streaming is actually spreading to the rest of the world. Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, South America. In fact, 6 out of the top 10 grossing apps in Russia actually come from China. So these are a couple areas where what we're going to see some big growth in 2017.
Right, and William, when you talk about mobile, are you saying that more and more people are going to go to their telephones to consume information, to consume news, and of course be entertained as well?
Sure. If you look at the West, North America, Western Europe, most people started off on digital. But China is the largest mobile-first, mobile-only market in the world. What that means is people's first experience with the internet is on their mobile phone. So you have everything from education to entertainment to games to finance. One of the biggest trends here is social commerce. So we have a company called WeChat, where if you go into it, anything that you see you can buy, as opposed to, say, Facebook, where you go onto Facebook and you can't buy anything. I would say that WeChat is about a year and a half ahead of Facebook in this space. But Facebook, their entire product roadmap is a catch-up game trying to get into the social commerce area.
Right, Dan, we've heard a lot about self-driving cars, artificial intelligence. Where do you see tech trends going in 2017?
Speaking of artificial intelligence, there's a lot of exciting things going on at Baidu. Baidu poached one of the top artificial intelligence experts from Stanford to become its chief scientist.
Baidu is a Chinese company, right?
Yes. And artificial intelligence is perhaps one of the most important technology in our generation. It holds the promise of unleashing better customer service, better facial recognition, better voice recognition, so that when you speak to a computer, the computer will accurately know what you're talking about. And I think Baidu will take the leadership position in 2017 in terms of artificial intelligence in China. Actually, they're already the leader right now, but they will further cement their position as the industry leader.
Now, we've already seen some of this with we see Amazon creating a personal assistant, Google also creating one. How does that change? How do they improve that?
Well, there's a lot going on in voice recognition, but Chinese is different than English, and Baidu is focusing mostly on Chinese right now. And also right now there's a race between the major companies in the United States and with Baidu to see who can come up with the best artificial intelligence, best voice recognition software. So Google is right now the industry leader, but Baidu has its own niche and is catching up very quickly to Google. And in the sphere of mainland China, Baidu is absolutely the king right now.
Xiaochen, what's on the horizon for us in 2017?
Yeah, in 2016 already gave a very good foundation for what will happen in 2017. And I agree with both of them that, FinTech is not only a big...
Tell me a little bit more about FinTech. William talked about P2P. Does that cut out a middleman in this, or what does that mean?
Yeah, FinTech is a very interesting word because, the FinTech, that's a word which is used widely in the United States. But in China, we have another word that is the Internet finance. Right. And they have overlap, but China's Internet finance definitely have a much broader definition, and which covers the P2P, internet insurance, and also crowdfunding. And from the Association of Internet Finance, that they have a report to define internet finance with 9 categories, and in each category, and you will see big jump of China from 2015 to now.
Now, when you talk about internet finance, are you talking about someone who has an idea, an entrepreneur with an idea, who needs money to develop that idea?
Yeah, that is part of the one of the category of internet finance. The example is the crowdfunding, for example, and basically that's if you have an idea before and you don't have the track record, and then you cannot just get it funded through VC or through banks, and through crowdfunding, that's the crowd who can just basically support your idea when they really like it. They think it has a future. You don't need to have track record, and the crowd can give you a small amount, but you have the big crowd. Each small amount will accumulate to big enough that can enable you to a lot more. And when you see that in China, like crowdfunding in China occupy currently almost 40% of the market, and also within the last 3 years, China's crowdfunding or alternative finance increased annually by 300%.
40%, that's a big chunk of finance. So you've got to be able to sell your idea, though.
That's true, and that's when we just as the people in this ecosystem, we just are amazed by the fact that there's not a single time in China's history that a startup have such a good environment, because from the central policymaker to the investors to the innovative financial instrument to the different stakeholders in the ecosystem, all just coming join force. And we also see a lot of cross-border collaboration, like US go to China and the European go to China. China just come out of the country, and it's kind of innovation without border. And you see that's growing, and every year.
William, we've seen something of a sea change in China, where it's trying to move away from just being a manufacturing country to moving to a country where there is innovation. Has the climate improved for innovators and innovation in China?
Yes, I think China is one of the most innovative markets in the world. It's a pure capitalist society in some senses. Entrepreneurialism is supported. Before, failure was looked down upon. Now it's okay to fail. And you're seeing many people, they'd much rather be an entrepreneur than be a manager and oversee 200 or 300 staff. This comes out in there's a plethora of companies that you see here. For example, we have our HAX Accelerator at SOSV, stands for Hardware Accelerator in Shenzhen. We take startups from all around the world, including China, and we help them not only get from prototype to actual product, but then market those products to the world. There's a major crowdfunding site in the US called Kickstarter. And only 1 in every 1,500 companies raise over $1 million. But our Shenzhen-based accelerator, HAX, is 9% of the $1 million club. And these are startups from the US, from Europe, but also from China, leveraging Shenzhen as a manufacturing base, but selling to the world.
Right, you mentioned that you take a product from prototype to production. Is that what you do? Because that's called tech incubation, isn't it?
Yeah, we call it acceleration. We put a time limit on it. So we take a product, a team, and a prototype to delivery in 3 to 5 months. We do that not only in hardware, but we also do it in software, where we take companies from around the world and Chinese companies, and we help them get product market fit, which means that the consumer really likes the product, loves the product, and then we help them scale. So our programs are generally 3 to 4 months. We invest. Then we work with our mentors, which are industry experts and entrepreneurs that have been there, done that, failed and succeeded. And then we end with a demo day where we introduce the companies to finance. It's interesting to note that U.S., maybe venture capital in U.S. investing is about $60 billion last year, whereas Europe actually $72 billion, whereas Europe combined was $12 billion, but China venture capital investing last year was about $60 billion. So in the global scheme of things, China's VC might venture capital investing into startups, into innovation has been quite amazing.
Dan, Forbes magazine, the business magazine here in the United States, says that China is set to become a hyper-robotic society in 2017. The magazine says that China has already positioned itself as the biggest robotic market in the world. What does that mean?
Well, the economy is transitioning. So China historically has been a manufacturing economy, but GDP is going up. You cannot continue to be a low-cost manufacturing economy when the cost of labor continue to rise. And that is one of the reasons why the government really want to transition the economy into a higher quality economy. So with the amount of robots rising, what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of the industry retreating out of China because of higher labor costs, or they will replace the worker with robots. So this will put pressure on the government to actually create new industries, and that's where all these startups will be. So out of the startup that we see in China, out of 100, maybe 1 or 2 will become industry leaders of the future. But these industry leaders will be the one that will be employing tens of thousands of people, high quality, high paid, white collar jobs. And I think the government's really doing a great job by making these venture capital, money available. Because as an entrepreneur myself, I very vividly understand that startup capital is what drives the whole process.
Xiaochen, we see a lot happening in China, but if we look at the broader tech picture around the world, take a company like Apple. Do you think it will retain its, cool status in the years to come?
Yeah, and the future of tech is really lies in the hands of consumers. Yeah. And if you really can just continue to sell yourself as the leading coolest tech, and you will definitely continue just have. But unfortunately, I do see that, as an industry leader, and there are a lot more cool technologies coming up. And again, that's, innovation before and always happen within the biggest company, and then they just put the resources together, and then they have to hire the best scientists, they have the best tech people, and then they just, finally launch a beautiful product and then just sell to everybody. But this kind of innovation, and I do think this, we don't call it the end of this such of innovation, but we definitely see that the emerging trend that the crowd, the distributed solution, or the distributed innovation have a much bigger potential. And think about that, if one competing with all, and of course all will have the future. And in this regard, that we see, for example, blockchain as one of the new technology which just back up many other technologies. And now, again, a lot of blockchain-related technology innovation happen not within the biggest company. It's from the startup type, but they will definitely have the disruptive effect to the bigger companies.
Okay. Thanks to all of you for joining us for this part of the show.